Moving on now to our top story. Israel has released a list of the hostages who will be released today by Hamas. These are the last hostages who will be released under the current deal, unless another one can be agreed before tomorrow morning.
Yeah, it's as US President Joe Biden said that killing and war would play into the hands of Hamas in a post on Twitter. He said Hamas unleashed a terrorist attack because they fear nothing more than Israelis and Palestinians living side by side in peace. To continue down the path of terror, violence, killing and war is to give Hamas what they seek. We can't do that. Well, joining us now is Dr Meir Elran, who's former IDF and is now with the Institute for National Security Studies at Tel Aviv University. I mean, Joe Biden there basically saying that Israel going after Hamas, which many in this country would fully support, is just going to be playing into the hands of the terrorists, and they might end up essentially gaining more support and many more sympathisers.
Well, the problem right now is that we are definitely keen on getting our hostages back as soon as possible, and preferably all of them. And this is quite tough to get because the Hamas is really playing on our psyche, and they are playing on our nerves. But we have to take that into consideration. And that's why we are willing to get along with the proposal that have been made so far. We are very happy to have received more than 70 hostages, but unfortunately there are at least 140 more that are captured and are held in the tunnels and holes of the Hamas. And this is our major theme and major objective right now. Once this is achieved, and as I said before, as soon as possible, then we'll get back to the main business of dismantling Hamas, which is our major and main objective.
Mia, in your expert view, is there any way that Israel will go along with an extended truce, an extended ceasefire, in other words, as the Palestinians are calling for, a permanent ceasefire, if Hamas still has Israeli hostages down in those tunnels? Is there any way there will be a permanent truce while Hamas still has Israeli hostages?
Well, first of all, I would say that I hope this would not be the case, because we have to put pressure on Hamas, and the more pressure we put on Hamas, the better it is for our hostages' future, because we need to have them back now. But everything is possible. I don't exclude any possibility in the future, because the situation is very dynamic. It's changing constantly, and it depends what the Hamas is doing. But you have to understand and you have to appreciate the fact that the major thing about this whole counteroffensive on the part of the IDF is not just to, punish Hamas for what they did on October 7th, but basically to dismantle Hamas as a fighting and a political organization, because it hinders, it is the major obstacle to any kind of a progress that we can make together with our neighbors in the Middle East, Arab moderate countries, and the Western world in order to stabilize the situation in the Middle East. This is the overall objective of Israel. But first we have to dismantle Hamas. We have before that to get our prisoners, our hostages back. As I said, now is the time.
Is it possible to actually dismantle Hamas, given that they are reportedly the second richest terrorist organisation on earth, very well funded, I think second only to ISIS? They've got certainly some friends in high places in cities such as Tehran, and they actually were, well, I'd say elected, but I'll put that in inverted commas because we know that Hamas don't really do democracy, to run Gaza. I mean, is it possible to essentially get rid of them and their threats?
Well, first of all, I would say that it is possible, as it was possible to dismantle ISIS. It was achieved, it was accomplished by the Western coalition. So the same might go for Hamas. You are right that this is quite a formidable opponent. We have to be very careful about what we do with them. But the objective of dismantling Hamas as an organization, I'm not talking about individuals here and there, but basically, we have to stop them being a threat to Israel to the Israeli citizens, to the civilian residents. We have to be in a position that they cannot harm us anymore, not in the way they did in October 7th and not in any other manner. This is important not only for us, but also for the stability of the Middle East. And I would even dare to say that it is important for the world, or at least the Western liberal world at large. This is a mission that we have undertaken on ourselves. Unfortunately, it was not our intention. We woke up to a massacre that happened almost two months ago. And we found ourselves in this war, which is a tragedy for Israel, for the Palestinians, for the Middle East, and for the world at large. And it has to be stopped. And unfortunately, the only way is to stop it is to put more pressure on Hamas so that they would come out with white flags and surrender. Then we will have to see how we reconstruct the Gaza Strip together with our friends and partners in the Middle East.
Mia, what would entice Hamas to release the hostages? Because let's face it, tragedy though it is, those 140 people still down in those tunnels, they are Hamas's bargaining chips. If they hand over all of these hostages, then Israel will no doubt descend upon them like a ton of bricks. So, I mean, how does Israel negotiate the release of these hostages without completely destroying Hamas and finding the hostages themselves?
Well, if we do not get any other choice, we will do that. But I can tell you that so far, we have been successful because of the pressure we put on them, the military pressure, which was very, very severe. Okay, they released already 70 hostages, and they are going to release more. The fact of the matter is that they are under pressure. They understand the situation. They realize exactly where they are. And that's why we still are hopeful that we will be able to get our hostages back soon. But you're absolutely right. And as I said before, we don't know exactly what's going to happen. This is a very fluid situation. They are in a very bad situation. And we should expect everything that might happen in the next few days and weeks. But my point is that we need, and this is the decision that was made by the Israeli government, to give highest priority to the issue of the hostages, and then to go ahead and dismantle Hamas. We are determined to do that. The Israeli public is supportive of the government in this overwhelmingly, and the military is waiting to do its job, and they are going to do the job in a very, very good manner. So I am slightly optimistic because despite of the dire situation, but I think that we will be able to achieve both objectives. Number one, to release our hostages as soon as possible. And then secondly, to dismantle Hamas. We need to do that. We are obligated to do that, and we will do that.
Mia, thank you ever so much. Mia Elran there, former IDF Deputy Director of Military Intelligence.